So this is the last session on Bodhichitta for this module. So yeah, we're in the middle of the method of exchanging self and others for generating bodhicitta. So we'll finish that today, and then I think we'll go through there's a way of combining the two methods, the sevenfold cause and effect method, beginning with seeing all sentient beings as having been your mother, and then combining that with the method of equalizing and exchanging self and others, which we're looking at now. So basically, I think what I'd like to do today is we'll just kind of do an extended meditation on bodhicitta, where I'll explain a little bit, and then we'll meditate a little bit, and then I'll check if you have questions. We can discuss a little bit, and then I'll explain a bit more, then we meditate a bit more, and we'll just go like that. So there's no special breakout rooms or discussion time or something like that. Because actually one of the biggest things to explain today is the whole practice of it's called tonglen, giving and taking. In the exchanging self and others method of generating bodhicitta, there's 5 steps, and that's the last step. But it's quite involved. No, it requires quite a bit of explanation, and it's kind of a detailed visualization. And there's a lot of kind of difficult questions that come up around it. What's going on? So that's kind of the centerpiece for today. Um, but yeah, that's what we're doing. So yeah, let's just generate a positive motivation at first, and then we can do some brief prayers. I forgot to open up my prayers here. I'll do that in just a second. Prayer sheet. There we go. And we're sharing, I guess. Okay. Yeah, just sit in your meditation posture, whatever posture you find comfortable for meditating. And yeah, scan through your body, check that you're comfortable and relaxed. Let go of any tension or tightness or discomfort with each exhalation. If you like, take a few deep breaths. Yeah, scan through your body. Become aware of your state of mind. And yeah, let go of any thoughts about the past or the future. Just as much as you can, try to be just still in the present moment. And then gather your attention on an object of meditation, such as your breath. Just observe the sensations of breathing, or you can observe your mind, the conventional nature of your mind. Or just generate kind of open awareness in the present moment. Whatever you like, anyway, in some way, kind of focus your attention. Mm. And then, yeah, in order to generate a positive motivation, then it's yeah, very helpful to visualize all sentient beings seated around you, as I've described before, with your mother and father to your left and right, and then those whom you tend to be have a sense of closeness with or feel positive kind of connection with, feel supported by. Then imagine them seated to your left and right and behind you. So remember, yeah, those people, women, female friends and family to your left and behind you, and then male friends and family to your right and behind you. Mm. So feel how you're interconnected with them in this life. And then those whom you're most prone to become irritated and angry with or have disregard for. So the class of antagonists or enemies. Imagine them seated directly in front, facing towards you at a comfortable distance, seated a little lower down. And feel how you're also connected, have a connection with them in this life. And remember, especially to practice the need to make effort to practice tolerance, forgiveness, patience towards them. And then imagine all the other sentient beings that exist, all the beings of the six realms. Imagine them all in human form, seated around you as vast as space. And remember how in this life, even just in this life, we're interconnected with countless of them in indirectly or directly. Not to mention in countless past lives and future lives, from life to life, we're yeah, connected with them in different ways. Sometimes as friends, sometimes as enemies, usually as strangers. So try to generate an equal concern for all these sentient beings, not attached to those we're close to in this life and not averse to those whom we have a kind of antagonistic relationship in this life. So recognizing how these positions, these connections of friend, enemy, and stranger, they change just in one life, not to mention, of course, from life to life. We've been equally connected with each and every sentient being in countless different ways from life to life. So try to generate an unbiased or an even sense of concern for all these sentient beings, for the source of our every form of well-being and happiness, from yeah, the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the shelter we protects us from the elements, our language, ideas, education. Our very body comes from other sentient beings. So seeing that, seeing how other sentient beings contribute so much to our life, everything we enjoy in short, and try to generate a positive motivation, wishing to repay their kindness by, yeah, developing in whatever positive way we can through engaging in this session. And if you can, of course, generate the attitude of bodhicitta, wishing to, aspiring to, or intending to work towards and gradually achieve full enlightenment in order to be of the greatest service to others. Again, therefore, I'll engage in this session. Although generate, motivation, whatever is sincere, authentic, according to your own way of thinking. Mm. And then if you like, you can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front, or any object that you find inspiring, object of faith that you turn to for guidance and inspiration. So if you like, you can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha or a more elaborate field of refuge in the space in front. The main thing being to feel their presence, feel his presence. And then if you like, you can generate the mind of refuge. Yeah, turning to the Buddha Dharma Sangha for refuge and protection and guidance. And then we'll recite this short verse of praise to Buddha, and then the verse of refuge and bodhicitta. Uh, Compelled by great compassion, you taught the sacred Dharma. To dispel all wrong views, to you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Do not commit any unwholesome actions. Engage in perfect wholesome actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Yeah, we'll go ahead and recite the mandala. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kamnirataya. And then we'll jump to the refuge and bodhicitta verse. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my two collections of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my two collections of listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my two collections from explaining the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Hmm. I've never used these dedication verses yet since I started this module. So maybe today we'll do it. Just wanted to see what's there. Okay. So now just review and pick up where we left off last week. So if you remember last week, we're looking at this the method of equalizing and exchanging self and others. And yes, and then so this is the five main steps: equalizing self and others, the faults of self-cherishing or selfishness, contemplating the many good qualities that come from cherishing others. So we spoke quite a bit about the faults of selfishness last week and did a bit of meditation on that. And then we spoke a little bit about contemplating the many good qualities that come from cherishing others. So we'll continue from there. And then actually exchanging self and others. And then meditation on giving and taking is the main thing I need to clarify and we need to practice a bit before we go on. So that's where we were last week. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so to pick up from here, yeah, there's this. So yeah, I was a bit lazy with putting together slides for this before. I just used verses from Lama Chopa. So there's a Lama Chopa practice we usually do on the 10th and 25th of each Tibetan month, where Lama means the guru, your teacher, and Chopa means offerings. So where you make special kind of offerings and prayers to your teachers. But it's a very beautiful kind of ritual composed by this Tibetan Lama, Panchen Chökyi Gyaltsen. And at the end, it has verses on kind of contemplation on each of the main topics of the graduated path to enlightenment. And it has some very beautiful verses on meditating on bodhicitta, and especially this method of exchanging self and others. So that's where I took these from. Um, so this verse says, so speaking about the many good qualities that come from cherishing others, right? So he says, the mind that cherishes mothers and places them in bliss is the gateway leading to infinite qualities. Seeing this, I seek your blessings to cherish these transmigratory beings more than my life, even should they rise up as my enemies. Um, yeah. So, in essence, what he's saying is that the mind that cherishes mothers, so he's referring there to the sevenfold cause and effect method of generating bodhicitta, where we see all sentient beings as um, having been our mother in, this life. Well, in this life, there's one at least, unless we have, we count stepmothers or adopted mothers or something. We could have a few. But mainly the idea is that think of the person who's been most selflessly kind to you. It doesn't have to be your mother. It could be a grandmother or father or uncle or aunt or whoever, older sibling. But think of the person who's been most selflessly kind of look after you and cared for you, um, protected you and provided for you in this life in a very kind of loving way. And then recognize how, we had a previous life. In that life, there was also someone like that who cared for us. And then in a life before that, another person. A life before that, another person. And since we've had infinite past lives, then there's been infinite different people who've been selflessly kind to us. So, and it doesn't just have to be one person. We can think of all the different people who've been kind to us in different ways in this life, and then imagine how in previous life it was the same, previous life it was the same. And so there have been infinite sentient beings who've been genuinely kind to us, in some life, right? And so if we observe any sentient being alive now, because we've died and taken rebirth, we don't remember our previous lives. They've died and taken rebirth. They don't remember, what happened in the past either. But that doesn't change the fact that they were kind to us, right? So then observing any sentient being that we look at, there's no sentient being we can decisively or conclusively say they've never been incredibly kind to me in some past life. And so, so we generate that kind of way of looking at others. So he's saying the mind that cherishes mothers, that's what he means there, and places them in bliss. So seeing others have been kind to us in that way, then generating the attitude that wishes to place them in bliss, wishes to establish them in happiness, right? Wishes to lead them to a state of perfect happiness, in to whatever degree we can. Is the gateway to leading to infinite qualities. So he's saying it's that kind of altruistic concern about others, that kind of regarding others as having been kind to me, and then wishing to repay their kindness by doing what I can to bring them some well-being, in whatever way I can. That attitude is the gateway leading to infinite qualities. That attitude is the one that is going to lead us into generating more and more positive qualities of kindness, forgiveness, generosity, the morality of not harming, right? Think about, we can check. All of us, we've done things to harm others in this life, right? Beginning when we were, probably, I don't know how old, maybe 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year. Definitely when we were a toddler, we harmed others. No, I know. I have a, I used to have an aunt and uncle who lived in, what was it? Just outside Chatsworth, outside Los Angeles. So this one aunt, yeah, she's my mother's elder brother's wife, but I have 36 cousins on that side of the family, and among them, I was like one of her favorites. But whenever I would visit her, she would remind me how when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, I have no memory of it, but one time I was throwing a tantrum, a fit, because I didn't like something my mother was telling me, and I and my mother and father, they would never spank us or really be very harsh with us, whereas my aunt and uncle did. So my aunt always says she was amazed that my mother didn't spank me. She thought, oh no, this kid's going to be totally spoiled and not turn out well. But she told me this one time I was throwing a tantrum and I started kicking my mother in the shins. My mother's like holding me and I'm kicking her in the shins. And she thought, oh, so yeah, so I know. Well, anyway, I'm sure before we even have memories of this life, we did things to harm others, right? Um, and why do we do things to harm others? Generally, it's motivated by just selfish concern. We want something. I want this, and I don't care about anything else, and I don't care about anyone else. Um, so it's the attitude of not caring about others and exclusively being concerned with what we want, what we like. That's what leads us into harming others. So the opposite, caring about others and thinking, for myself is fine. I don't need anything. I'm content with what I have. I don't need much. But the best thing for me is if I can do something with my life to benefit others, right? So having that attitude, seeing others as having been kind to us in this life and previous lives, and then wanting to use our life to do something to benefit others, that's the gateway leads to infinite qualities. So yeah, and the reason I'm pointing out that the opposite, being selfish, um, is what leads us into harming others, then the opposite, being altruistic, caring more about others than we are concerned about our own selfish, needs and desires, is what leads us to enlightenment, right? Um, yeah. So that's what he's saying. The mind that cherishes others, cherishes mothers, and places and wishes to place them in the peerless happiness of enlightenment is the gateway leading. It's that attitude, that altruistic concern for others, which, from right now, it brings happiness to our mind. And then it protects us from harming others. And then it leads us into doing virtuous actions, being generous, being kind, being patient, and giving us enthusiasm to do, something good and meaningful with our life. And also developing wisdom and developing spiritual qualities on the path, mental focus, um, yeah, and studying more about how to reduce suffering, learning more and practicing more and more about how to reduce suffering and the causes of suffering, how to increase happiness and well-being and the causes of happiness and well-being, both in a temporal, external way and also in an internal, long-term way, thinking about not only this life, but future lives. So yeah, so this mind that cherishes others is the gateway leading to infinite qualities. Seeing this, then I seek your blessings to cherish these transmigratory beings. So recognizing, it's not easy to work for the welfare of others, right? Because a lot of times people not interested in what how we want to help them, or they don't want to, yeah, they're just not, I don't know, they're just difficult, right? Many people are just difficult, no. And it's difficult, and I mean, one of the most difficult things we can ever try to do in our life is try to help another person. Um, especially when people engaging in activities that are self-destructive, harmful to others, and they don't want any input about that, then it's very, how do you help them? It's very difficult to do. So seeing this, I seek your blessings. We seek guidance, inspiration to cherish other beings. So yeah, so here it's talking about more an attitude. It's not saying like you need to go out and start a soup kitchen, or you need to go out and become a doctor or a nurse or a teacher, or work in a charitable organization. It's mainly generating this attitude, the way we relate, the way we see ourselves, and the way we aspire to relate to others, whoever we encounter. So I cherish your blessings. And then, of course, having that attitude genuinely will lead into, doing things in life that actually are tangibly beneficial to others, right? That's how we start. Um, Seeing this, I seek your blessings to cherish these transmigratory beings more than my life, right? So I mean, that's kind of an expression of the degree to which, what's the thing we care about most in our life is not, our possessions. Yes, we care about, but more than those, perhaps our reputation, our good name. More than that, perhaps people who are dear to us. More than that, our body. And then, if we could give away part of our body to preserve our life, we would do that, right? So even more than any part of our body, we cherish our very own lives, right? So he's using that to cherish these transmigratory beings more than my own life, as an expression of the degree to which we should try to generate concern and caring about others, even more than we care our own lives. So, and then even as they rise up as my enemy. So that's an expression of, this, what do you say? I always forget this term. Unconditional love, unconditional caring, right? So, ordinarily we would think, okay, I'll work and care for these people as long as they also treat me likewise. As long as they treat me the way I want to be treated, then I'll treat them the way I would like to be treated as well, right? But if they're going to be cruel to me and harm me, then forget it, right? Then just I'll stay away from them, and they better just stay away from me. Right? So, but here is saying, even should they rise up as my enemy. So, irregardless, totally irregardless of how others treat me, may I cherish them just because, they've been kind to me in past lives, and because it's the kind of person I want to be. I want to be a person who cares about and has compassion and love for everyone, irregardless of how they treat me. And that, I mean, of course, that's a very, very high bar, right? It's a very, very high standard to set. But, if we genuinely want to become enlightened, that's the attitude we need to generate. If we genuinely want to kind of be the most positive person we can be the very best person it's possible to be, then that's the kind of attitude we should aspire to generate and try to generate. So, and by generating that attitude, then you know, we we uh, we we totally very quickly eliminate we stop creating the causes of suffering, negative karma, and we create incredibly positive karma in everything we do. If we have that attitude that I'm going to use my life to work for the welfare of others, care about others, benefit others in whatever way I can, irregardless of how they treat me. I mean, what a pure, wholesome attitude to have. So then with that kind of attitude and motivation, everything we do is like transformed into gold. It's like very virtuous. And so we're happy in the moment. We have that attitude, and everything we do becomes a cause for our own well-being and happiness. So we quickly progress from goodness to goodness, to higher, from higher to higher kind of levels of realization, both in terms of method, kindness, love, and compassion, and also in terms of wisdom. Um, yeah. So that is always saying. So this is contemplating the many good qualities that come from cherishing others. Is like, we get happiness in the moment. We create happiness for the future in this life, for in future lives. If we can die with the mind thinking, whatever comes of this, may it be of benefit to others. What a wholesome mind to die with. No question we'll take a good rebirth and meet conditions to be able to continue uh, um, practicing on the path in future lives will meet other people who are like-minded. You can see when you have a really kind heart, then you tend to resonate with other people who are kind. No, if you have a lot of kind of skepticism and doubt and animosity and mistrust, then you tend to resonate with other people who also have those kind of views, right? And you tend to encounter more, meet people, end up spending time together with people. So not that, of course, that's not always the case, but it seems to be a pattern now. Um, and then if you genuinely, want to use your life in a positive way to benefit others, then you also tend to meet people who can help you to do that. Not only peers, but also teachers. Especially, making prayers is very powerful. To make prayers to meet the conditions which will help me, become kind of a better and better person. So yeah, so this kind of good fortune and positive qualities all come about through cherishing others, and that kind of begins with gratitude. Um, yeah, so let's meditate a little bit on that, and then afterwards, we'll check if you have any questions. I don't know. Yeah. Any questions beforehand? Doesn't look like it. Okay, let's meditate a little bit then. Just briefly, just a few minutes. So again, get comfortable in your meditation posture. Mm. Take a few deep breaths and then breathe naturally. Then visualize all sentient beings seated around you. Actually, the visual aspect is not so important. The main thing is to feel kind of the presence of all sentient beings. How we share this earth, we share this world, we share this, um, you know, this locality wherever we are. And that we're interconnected with other sentient beings in this life, in past lives, in future lives, and to feel that kind of interconnectedness. Mm. Yeah, and then simply in your own way or in the way been describing, I've described, contemplate the good qualities that come about, the benefit that comes about by cherishing others, right? By having an attitude that cares about others. So you can think in different ways. One way is to think, look at your own life, your own experiences in this life, and recognize, when I've had an attitude of caring about others, a loving concern or compassionate concern for others, how that's benefited yourself. And then you can also think about, others who've been very, kind and caring to you, how beneficial that was to you. And then you can also think as a third person observer about, people or people you've heard about who are very, altruistic and have, great sincere concern for others and how much benefit it's brought in their lives. So there's three different ways you can think about. We just have a very short time, so maybe pick one to start with. Usually you start with your own experience of cherishing others and think how beneficial that is. Mm. So just for a few minutes, think how much benefit comes immediately and also in the long term, and especially in the context of striving for enlightenment, to cherish and care for others, care about others. Okay, relax your attention there. Briefly, I wonder, would some of you be willing to share some of any examples you came to mind of benefit to you that's come about by caring about others in the room or online? Yes, Stan.
Hi. Yes, as you were guiding us in that meditation, I was thinking of my wife who passed away 9 years ago. I briefly just I kind of had an epiphany. She had got cancer soon after we started dating, or had it discovered, and there was just a point in when she was having a medical procedure that I was witness to, and she kind of needed some support, and I reached down to help lift her up off a table, and I heard myself uh, just proclaim that I have to do everything I can to help this woman. And of course, we ended up getting married, and I helped her for 9 or 12 years from that point on to deal with her cancer. And it was the most blissful, no, not blissful, but blessed um, time that I can probably point to in my life. Um, it was quite a spontaneous thing that I experienced. Sorry for my emotions.
Oh, it's okay, Stan.
But my question, therefore, is um, I always figure that it probably was a karmic, undoubtedly, a karmic connection that we had. I wonder what you would say to that. I mean, a person that I met in this life and had that experience, and that surely there must be some kind of karma that we have together. Would you not say so?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think,
Sorry for my difficulty in speaking. It becomes a emotional thing for me to talk about.
oh,
Um,
there's no need to apologize. Thank
yeah,
you so much for sharing. That's
yeah,
a
but
really
it was the
beautiful
most
story.
profound thing I'd experienced and related to what we're talking about is realizing just such overwhelming compassion that I, I I felt I had no choice. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Well, usually when we think of someone close to us getting cancer and us having to care for them, we don't think of it as, the best thing that can happen to us. You know?
Right, right.
But ironically, like it, it often is. It often can be.
And she says that I was the best thing that happened to her, that
Uh,
helped her through this. But
yeah.
all my life post that experience has been all the blessings come from having made that decision,
To,
that choice to give myself to that. So
beautiful.
I've experienced what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
recommend
think
it.
that's a wonderful example of exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Like ordinarily we think, if I want happiness, I need to get what I want. No. But actually the greatest happiness comes from just giving ourselves in service to others. No.
right.
Just caring about others. Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
letting
you.
me share.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Um, yeah, why don't we go to the next someone put some in the chat though, I think. But the next thing to contemplate. Actually exchanging self and others. Yeah, so again, there's this verse from Pension Cherokee Yeltsin. So yeah, here the main idea actually exchanging self and others is to, actually try to take the idea is that ordinarily, if we consider, the concern we have for self or others as like 100%, then ordinarily we have kind of 80, 90% concern for ourself and maybe 10, 20% concern for others, for, the ordinary person. Um, and the idea is to exchange that where we, the degree of concern we have for ourselves, we place that, we try to cultivate that for others. And the degree of concern we have for others, we put on ourselves. That's the basic idea. So yeah, so we exchange the degree of concern we have for self and others, where we care um, as much or more about others than about ourselves. Um, yeah. So yeah, Panchajya Gelson says, in brief, infantile beings, or here means like childish people. In brief, infantile beings or childish people labor only for their own ends. So he's talking about like very small-minded, kind of selfish people. They work only for their own, what they want, what they like, only for their own ends. While the able ones, so the able ones is an epithet for Buddhas, right? For an enlightened being or bodhisattva. It usually means enlightened being. So like the most enlightened, highly spiritually developed beings, it doesn't have to be Buddhist in any spiritual tradition you see. I mean, also, why was Jesus so renowned? Because he's totally selfless person. Any great spiritual leader. So while the able ones work only for the welfare of others, right? So infantile beings work only for their own ends, while the able ones work solely for the welfare of others, are completely selfless, right? With the mind understanding the distinction between the failings or the drawbacks of one and the advantages of the other, I seek your blessings to enable me to equalize and exchange myself with others, right? So remembering the past two contemplations, the drawbacks of being selfish, and the benefits of caring about others. Then saying, I seek your blessings because it's not easy. So it's always praying to the Buddha, praying to his own teacher, to bless us, to be able to equalize the degree of concern we have for self and others, and then exchange. Then the degree of concern we have for ourselves, to place that on others, the degree of concern a childish person has for others, to place that on themselves, right? In that way, exchange self with others. So care about others even more than we do about ourselves. And then he goes on, cherishing myself is a doorway to all loss, right? So selfish concern. Of course, we need a wholesome sense of concern for ourselves, and that's why we're doing this at all, right? That's why we're doing, meditation or studying Buddhism. It's because we want to be, a better, happier person. So of course, there's a wholesome sense of concern for ourselves, but we're trying to abandon this narrow-minded, kind of petty, sort of selfish concern. So cherishing myself is the doorway to all loss, while cherishing my mothers is the foundation of all qualities. Hence, I seek your blessings to make my heart practice, right, the main practice, the yoga of exchanging myself for others. Right? So the way we meditate on this is to basically imagine here it's helpful. We continue this visualization of all sentient beings seated around us, but then take one representative from each group. So one friend, someone we tend to have attachment for, we like, we naturally have affection for. So imagine one person like that, not the person we're closest to or we have the most kind of affection for of anyone, but someone kind of a middling um, friend, family member, and then one stranger, imagine, and then someone we have antagonism for, and especially if there's someone we really detest the most, like not that person, someone we have kind of middling dislike for. And imagine these three people in front of you, and then if you have time, which we won't here, you go through all three, trying to exchange. Imagine what it would be, and try to generate this attitude, exchanging the sense of concern I have in my most kind of childish moments, um, and putting that degree of concern on them. And then when we're feeling very childish, the degree of concern we have for them, putting that on ourselves, right? So trying to generate um, more concern for them than for ourselves. So we begin with the person we naturally like, which is easiest, and then go to the stranger, and then finally try to do the same with the person we tend to dislike, right? So any questions about, so we'll do a little meditation on this actually exchanging self and others now. But just before we do that, any questions immediately jump up in your minds? No? Okay. You all look quite ready to meditate. Okay. Let's try that then. So again, get comfortable in meditation posture. And then, yeah, again, gradually focus your attention within and visualize yourself, visualize all sentient beings around you. And imagine these three, one person from each of these groups, a friend, antagonist, stranger. Imagine one from each group seated directly in front of you in a comfortable way. And then recognize at times in our lives how we have, how we're selfish, basically. We do have at times this kind of very self-centered attitude where clearly we're by far more concerned with ourselves and our own wants and likes and desires and needs than those of others. Mm. And so, beginning with the friend, then try to exchange the degree of concern we have for self and them and this one other person. So in your heart, try to imagine what that would be like and try to actually generate that kind of thinking. You can even say to yourself, may I be as concerned about them as I am about myself, or even more concerned for them as I am for myself. May I be more concerned for them than I am for my own life. So try to generate and try to exchange this concern for self and others in that way. Mhm. And then turn your attention to the stranger and do the same. And I think, half of the practice is practicing humility, letting go of kind of neediness, letting go of the kind of concern for ourselves, just being content, having sense of having few needs. So it's kind of half letting go of concern for ourselves, and then half is really trying to increase the genuine concern, love and compassion for the other. So try to do the same with regard to one stranger imagined in front of you. And then briefly try to do the same regard to the enemy or antagonist, the person you have a difficult time with. Try to exchange the degree of concern, exchange self and others. Another way of, maybe I mentioned, because just last Sunday, I think, when Rinpoche was here teaching. Was it Sunday? Yeah, just 2 days ago, no? Yeah, he was explaining the 8 verse mind training. The second verse of the 8 verse mind training says, "Oh, Kanada, so wherever I go and whoever I'm with, may I see myself as the lowest of all, and sincerely from within my heart, may I." Shenla Samba Tabe. Dadu Chodu Mosho. May I cherish others as supreme. Yeah, so this is prayer in Langri Tempa, or this contemplation. He's saying, wherever I go, whoever I'm with, may I see myself as the lowest, meaning as the least important of all, and putting others first, you know, genuinely, sincerely from my heart. May I cherish others as being supreme. So it doesn't mean like others are seeing others as better than me, but it's recognizing that by putting others first, by having more concern about self, about others than self, by cherishing others, being more concerned about the welfare of others than I am about my own, then by the way, enlightenment will come into my hands. Everything I wish for will come into my hands. Um, everything wholesome. Um, by genuinely having that this kind of altruistic attitude. Mm. So try to expand that, your attitude of exchanging self for others and out to not just these three people imagined in front of you, but to all sentient beings, putting oneself last and putting others first. Okay, relax your attention there. Um, yeah, I know one question that I'm imagining might arise is because I know many of you, um, well, like we all have families, right? Not many of you. I'm thinking many of you, but like I have one too, right? Although I'm not married and have kids, right? So it's a bit different, right? I'm just a single guy. Um, but especially many of us who we live with our family. We have a spouse, we have children, we live with our parents, um, and so forth. Then, I mean, a question could arise when we're doing this. We're thinking, okay, man, be concerned more about it with others. But then, like, if you're spending the evening online in some Buddhist course while they're like doing something else, then isn't that a bit selfish? Right? Just doing like leaving them, or leaving them at home and coming to Land of Medicine Buddha to take a class because that's what I want to do. And instead of spending the time with them, like, then then if I'm practicing then being more concerned about them than about myself, then shouldn't I just do what they want to do? If they want to go see the movies, I go see the movies. If they want to hang out and like, I don't know, watch TV, then I just do that with them. Not really. No, it doesn't entail that, right? Like, it's an attitude of caring about others, but that doesn't mean that caring about others doesn't mean like, or the I mean the result of that doesn't mean just having to do whatever others want us to do, right? We have to use our own wisdom to decide, well, what's the best way to use my time and energy to bring about benefit, for me and others in the long term. Um, um, right? So yeah, it's an attitude of caring, but it doesn't mean, because if we were to think that way, well, I should just do whatever, seems to make others happy, right? If we become just an other pleaser, then we end up kind of losing a sense of what's meaningful to us, right? And we probably end up wasting a lot of time and energy, like doing things that are not particularly beneficial, right? So we have to use this kind of common sense and wisdom to like, well, what's actually the best way to use my time and energy with the intention to benefit myself, benefit others, bring goodness into the world in the long term, right? So there's that kind of it's not a simple equation, right? It requires a bit of like consideration again. Yes. Oh yeah. We need the mic so everyone online can hear your question and your comment. It's a new mic and it's going to work.
Yellow.
Can you hear online?
Um,
Yes, great.
so I was thinking at the end of the meditation, I started imagining like it's kind of like in a way it's when you're serving food to people like family, and then family get their own friends, you know what I mean? And you don't necessarily know all of them, but you serve them all the same. And like usually how it goes is that you have them serve themselves first and you serve yourself last,
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah, it's a great example. Yeah. Yeah, I know when because I'm newly staying at like Vajrapani Institute. So there's a, the staff who cook lunch every day. And so I go there and take lunch. And yeah, I was noticing the cook, they always take their food last. And I asked them, they're like, yeah, that's world over. That's like a custom, among cooks, kitchen staff is that. And I mean at families too. Usually, like when I was growing up, we have a big family reunion. It's always, I mean, it's usually the women who are cooking, and then they always serve the men and the kids first, and then they eat last. No. And you see that in India, every country I've been to, it's kind of like usually whoever's cooking, then they serve the others first and then they take themselves last. So, yeah, it's a reflection, I think, of that sentiment. You put others before yourself. Yes.
Thank you so much. Oh, is that going? Thanks.
Hmm.
And thanks for everybody being here. It's beautiful to be here. I use often the example that you hear in the airplane. Put on your own oxygen mask first, and
Hmm.
then you can help others.
Yeah, that's the other side of the equation is if you're not doing enough to support yourself, because to be sustainable and working to benefit others, you have to take care of yourself. Yeah. If you don't take care of yourself, then you quickly burn out and generate resentment and so forth. So, yeah, it's true. You need to give yourself your own oxygen, your food, your space, your rest, your inspiration, whatever, and take care of yourself in a wholesome way, and that you can sustainably work for the welfare of others. Yeah. So that's a great analogy for that. Yeah. Asha?
Yeah, so Keshala, in that meditation, I think you probably have gotten this question before too, but exchanging self for others or prioritizing others' concerns over you is it's difficult to do in that last category of the people, right? The
Mm.
the difficult people.
With
Because
difficult people. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because then if we were to really use this word by word, then their happiness is higher than my happiness. So that means, does that mean that I should just do whatever they want me to do? And then it just becomes very difficult
That's true.
when you
Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, no, it's not like that. It's not like, it doesn't mean we should just do whatever others want us to do. And that's related to what's your name? About what's your name? Yeah. Fordham. Yeah, yeah. This gentleman Fordham was saying, using the analogy of like when you're in an airplane and they say if the oxygen mask drop down, first put your own mask on and then put the mask, your child's mask on, right? Because if you suffocate, then the child's also going to suffocate, right? So similarly, if we don't take care of ourselves in a wholesome way, then we can't really, in the long term, we can't do much to benefit others. If we're not happy, if we're miserable, then how are we going to help others to be happy? So we do need to take care of ourselves with the motivation that, and we can be more beneficial to others, right? So
thank you.
yeah, yeah. Okay, last question or comment by Joe. Joe, go.
Hi. Over the past few years, I've had to, I've chosen to end friendships and a relationship with a family member. And I found that in doing that, I can then feel compassion for them. And I was feeling, listening to to you speak today and with the meditation, I feel a bit more peaceful about that choice because I can feel a bit bad about, well, perhaps I should still be in their lives so I can help them, but it wasn't. It just and also you can't force people to change. Again, that's my need for them to be different with me is my need. So yeah, I just wanted to say that by distancing myself from certain people, I have a chance of feeling, compassion for them. I can't. My skills are so limited that I can't do it in any other way. So I just want to say thank you for. I can't remember, what you've said, but it gives me a bit of relief that it's okay to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Joe. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is okay to do that. And sometimes that's what we need to do. I think it's like you pointed out. We have to, yeah, we have to honestly, be aware, be self-aware of like where we are in our practice, if when we're very new and fragile, and if there's certain, people around us who really have a negative effect on us, such that it's really something, if we continue being around those people, like it's really hindering our kind of development as a better person, then yeah, sometimes it's okay just to recognize and just keep our distance from those people. And that's advice in the Lamrim, no? Is that. So yeah, it's okay. Okay, let's go to Tonglen. We're only with 15 minutes left. Somehow I always get way behind in this, but whatever, it's okay. It's not really behind. It's just, it's Bodhichitta. You don't want to rush, right? You want to go thoroughly, step by step, get some taste of each step. But okay, here we are at the last step of this method for generating bodhicitta, which actually is a bit of actually, this a method to generate. It always kind of confuses me about this one. It's a method to generate bodhicitta, but the last step, ostensibly, is meditation on giving and taking, which is not bodhicitta. So actually, we need to do this meditation, and then at the end, generate the attitude of bodhicitta, right? Because giving and taking, as you'll see, this meditation is basically, it's kind of taking all the contemplations we've done before in this method, generating a sense of equal concern for all beings without bias, recognizing the faults of cherishing our selfishness, recognizing the benefits of cherishing others. So reducing selfishness, increasing the benefit of cherishing others, and then exchanging the degree of concern we have for self and others. And then, so it's all kind of, you do a visualization and a meditation that culminates like in this, which I'll explain now, this Tonglen, or giving and taking. But then that's not actually bodhicitta, this attitude. This is really, it's a method, it's like a powerful method to reduce selfishness and increase concern for others, and generate both compassion and love. Compassion, wishing for others to be free from suffering, and love, wishing for others to have well-being and happiness, right? But then those two are a basis for generating bodhicitta. That's why at the end, because remember, bodhicitta is what? It's the mind thinking, in order to be of the greatest possible benefit, in order to accomplish the welfare of others, then I myself must achieve enlightenment. So it's a mind observing our own future enlightenment and aspiring to achieve that, motivated by great compassion for others. So we need to add like a fifth step, really. Okay, but yeah, read this verse. These are two verses by Nagarjuna. This is the kind of, apart from the sutras, this is the most authoritative, Buddhist text, and earliest, clearly describing the practice of Tonglen. His Holiness Dalai Lama quotes these verses often and encourages us to meditate on them. So just read and describe quickly. Like the earth. So first of all is an analogy. We try to think of ourselves as being like the four elements, and being like, medicinal plants, and being like firewood, which is just like freely available. Like if you go in the forest behind Medicine Buddha, land of Medicine Buddha, you can have all the firewood you want. It's just there for free for anyone to take. You can pick up some on the way home if you like, and use it to keep your house warm all winter. So like that, but the idea is that we think of ourselves as just something to be used and enjoyed by others, just like we use the earth. We walk on the earth, we sit on the earth, we stand on the earth, we grow crops on the earth, and the earth doesn't ask anything in return, or the water, the fire, or the wind. So like that. Yeah, anyway, I'll read. Like the earth, water, fire, and wind, like medicines and firewood of the monastery. Yeah, I'm not going to try to explain that, but just like firewood that's freely available for anyone. May I always be enjoyed by all sentient beings as they like and without resistance or without harm to them and without resistance from my side. So may I become, like the four elements, earth, water, fire, and wind, something that, and of course, don't think about like hurricanes and wildfires and tsunamis, right? We're thinking when the earth, water, fire, and wind are working well for us, right? In balance, like that. So may I be enjoyed by all sentient beings and be beneficial to them. May all sentient beings be dear to me, like my life. May they be even more dear to me than myself. May all their ill deeds, so this is the two lines that describe Tonglen. May all of their ill deeds, so may all of their suffering and their non-virtuous karma ripen upon me. And may all my own virtues ripen upon them, right? So this is really what describes Tonglen. And then he goes on, and thus, perfect, pure, compassionate Guru, I seek your blessings that all negative karmas, obscurations, and sufferings of mother transmigratory beings. So all the suffering that others experience and the causes of suffering that they've created, the negative karma they've created, and the causes of that negative karma, the afflictive emotions in their own mind, their anger, attachment, their selfishness, their confusion, ignorance, fear, whatever. Unhappiness. May all of that ripen upon, may they be free from all of that, and in place may it all ripen upon me. I take all of that, all of their suffering, may I take it upon myself, right? And thus, perfect, pure, compassionate Guru, I seek your blessings that all negative karmas, obscurations, and sufferings of mother transmigratory beings may without exception ripen upon me right now. And that by giving my happiness and virtue to others, so may all of my own good fortune, my reputation, whatever happiness I have, whatever possessions I have, my own body and my own roots of virtue, whatever the causes of like virtuous karma, positive karma I've created that are causes of happiness in the future, may all of that ripen upon others. And by giving my own happiness and virtue to others, all transmigratory beings may experience happiness. Yeah. And that by giving my happiness and virtue to others, may all transmigratory beings experience happiness. So it's quite a radical attitude, no? But yeah, usually what people get hung up on with this is thinking, my God, there's so much suffering in the world. If I really imagine it all ripening upon me, it's going to be miserable. I'm going to be, it's in a terrible state. No, so this is how you do it though. So you visualize all sentient beings seated around, visualize these three in front of you, one representative of the friends, of a stranger, of antagonist, our enemy. And then you reflect the faults of selfishness, right? The faults of our egotistical, self-centered mind. And how unhappy that makes us in the moment, how it leads us into harming others, how it brings so many problems and destroys our relationships with others, makes others distrust us, causes us to become angry and irritated, short-tempered, and unhappy and feel lonely. All the faults that we've discussed of the selfish attitude. So then you imagine this selfish, self-centered, very small-minded, kind of petty, childish attitude as like a black ball at your heart, right? This cause of all my suffering, this selfish, this ridiculously selfish attitude. Imagine that like a black ball at your heart, right? And then generate the mind caring more about others, cherishing others, thinking of others as supreme, as more dear to me than my life. And then we practice compassion for them, recognizing how kind they've been to me in this life, in the past, and then wanting to repay that kindness, then thinking, may all of their suffering ripen upon me. But it's not like ripen on me as a whole. really it's like ripen upon my selfishness, my selfish attitude. That's what it means when I say ripen upon me, ripen upon and destroy my own selfishness, right? So then what we do is we visualize as we inhale, each time we inhale, and we'll just practice inhaling for a while. As we inhale, and begin with one person, begin with the person, the friend that you've been meditating on. As you inhale, imagine suffering they experience, and each time you inhale, imagine drawing out their sickness, their pain, physical or mental pain, distress, their unhappiness, and the causes of the suffering. So whatever sufferings they might have, think of those and imagine, may that ripen upon me so that they be free from it, right? So the suffering and the causes of suffering exist in their continuum, in their body or mind. As you inhale, imagine drawing it out of them in the form of black smoke or soot. And then it comes into your heart. And as it comes into your heart, it transforms into like a powerful lightning bolt or a laser beam that strikes this black ball of self-cherishing, selfishness at your heart and weakens and destroys it, begins destroying it, right? Or utterly destroys it. And then you go on to the stranger, and then then last, the antagonist. So you meditate like that. Okay, so we'll just try doing that for a few minutes. Each inhalation. So imagine selfishness at your heart as a black ball, very hard, dense, very black ball, or whatever. What you can use whatever representation you like. If something else is more comfortable. Remember all the faults of selfishness. And then all the benefits of cherishing others. And then this attitude, exchanging self and others, caring more about others than about oneself. And then as you inhale, may their suffering, so this one person, this friend, ripen upon me. Think of whatever sufferings they have now, or the causes of suffering they have in their continuum that will ripen upon them in the future. The negative karma, afflictive emotions, the seeds of those. And each time you inhale, imagine that flows out of them in the form of black smoke or soot or oil or something. And then as it comes into your heart, it becomes a lightning bolt or a powerful laser beam, destroys your self-cherishing or selfishness, and you become free from that. So this is taking, right? Practice taking. It's a practice of compassion. May they be free from suffering. Mm. So gradually they become totally free from suffering. It's all ripened upon me in a way that destroys my own self-centered attitude. So then if we had more time, then you move on to do the same thing with regard to the stranger and to the enemy. But since we're short for time, we'll go on to practice giving. So now you visualize, so with regard to this friend who's now totally free from suffering. So now imagine, so we practice love. Imagine giving away, first of all, our possessions, our things and our wealth, and then our body, and then our roots of virtue, all the causes, all the happiness we have, and the causes of happiness we have. We imagine, may all of this ripen upon them. May it all be enjoyed by them. May it all, and so as we exhale, each time we exhale, imagine flowing out from our body and our mind, all of the things that bring us enjoyment and well-being and happiness, all flow out from us in kind of like form of like golden light rays. And then as it reaches them, it transforms into whatever they most need, whatever is most beneficial for them and bringing them well-being and happiness. Right, so that's practicing giving. So each time we exhale, imagine giving away our possessions, our body, our roots of virtue. And they transform into whatever that is most beneficial for that person. And thereby they experience happiness, health, happiness, good fortune. Mm. Okay, relax your attention there. So yeah, if you had more time, you'd go and do the same thing. Relation to the stranger and then the enemy, and then expand out to more and more and more sentient beings. And you combine the two, right? With each inhalation, you imagine taking on the suffering of others. It ripens upon your selfishness, destroys it, and then with each exhalation, you imagine offering, your possessions, your body, all roots of virtue and happiness, and the cause of happiness to others, like that. So that essentially is practice of Tonglen. So now we'll dedicate briefly, and then, well, let's see, we'll dedicate, and then, I don't know, after 2 weeks, we have a practice day here at Land of Medicine Buddha on August 24th. Yeah. So that's the last session for this module. And then, I don't know, if there's a self-assessment exam or something, then Leah will send you an email about it. Okay, let's dedicate. So think of all the merit we've created in this this module, all the 6 sessions on Bodhichitta. Oneself, rejoice in the others, rejoice in, all the teachers from Shakyamuni Buddha down to direct teachers. Yeah, and then other ordinary beings, all the merits created by Buddhism, Bodhisattvas, and other ordinary beings like ourselves. So all this merit gathered together, we can dedicate with these prayers. First of all, maybe just bring to mind any prayers you like to make. Any special dedication you like to make, bring to mind. Mm. Yeah, especially this terrible tragedy in unfolding. I mean, for so long now in Gaza and the Middle East, West Bank, and so forth. May it quickly come to an end. All the people there have food and peace and be able to quickly rebuild their lives. All those, I mean, so many people have died. May they take precious human rebirth, a rebirth in a pure land, and meet all the best possible conditions to continue the spiritual path. Also in Ukraine, other places in the world where there's war and conflict, may it all be quickly and peacefully resolved. May all beings be free from every form of violence and sickness and misfortune. Yeah, in short, may all beings be free from every form of suffering and have every form of well-being and happiness. And may all of your own intentions and prayers be accomplished swiftly in accordance with your virtuous yeah, intention. Then we can dedicate like this with these verses. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious supreme Bodhichitta, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. By these merits, may transmigratory beings attain the state of all-seeing, subdue the enemy of faults, and be freed from the ocean of samsara, disturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality, and just like Samantrabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue, with the dedication praised as the best, by all the gone beyond victors of the 3 times, in order to have good conduct. May the blind see forms, may the deaf hear sounds, may the naked find clothing, may the hungry find food, may the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. May no living creature ever suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or their minds ever be depressed. If in those who encounter me a faithful or an angry thought arises, may that eternally become the source for fulfilling all their wishes. May all those who say bad things to me or cause me any other harm, and those who mock and insult me, have the fortune to fully awaken. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. May a rain of food and drink descend to clear away the pain of thirst and hunger, and during the eon of famine, may I myself change into food and drink. May I become an inexhaustible treasure for those who are poor and destitute. May I turn into all things they could need, and may these be placed close beside them. May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship for all who wish to cross the ocean. May I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. May I be a bed for all who wish to rest, and a servant for all who want a servant. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, for as long as space remains and for as long as sentient beings remain. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. The wish grant, and for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, Supreme Tenzin Gyatso, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the Snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who ostensibly clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled and then especially for the unmistaken reincarnation of Kyabjin Lama Zopa Rinpoche to swiftly appear and show the aspect of studying and training, and then again serving the welfare of sentient beings and the Buddha Dharma, and teaching and showing the unparalleled exemplar of a great Buddhist practitioner and teacher. Yeah, and then especially for Land of Medicine Buddha, may it be free of every obstacle and have every conducive condition to all the activities of the center to benefit sentient beings and the Buddha Dharma as vastly as possible. May anyone who sees, hears, remembers, supports, volunteers for, serves the center, and has contact with the center in any way whatsoever, may through that contact, may they be free of suffering and the causes of suffering, and develop all the realizations on the path up to full enlightenment. Yeah, okay. Thank you all for participating. You've been a great group studying Bodhichitta, and I hope it's helped somewhat to increase your understanding and your enthusiasm and with your practice of compassion and Bodhichitta.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Geshe-la.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me on Zoom?
Yes.
This is Leah. I just wanted to thank everyone for being a part of this class. And most importantly, thank you, Geshe-la. This has been so wonderful. And we're so lucky that this is the first of hopefully many things that we host you for. And I hope to see everyone on August 24th. If you didn't get the email about registering for OCBC's, OCBC will be hosting the next module of Discovering Buddhism, and I sent out an email yesterday, but let me know if you have any questions about that. You can also reach out to Bae, who's here tonight. Thanks, Bae, for all your work on that. And yeah, I'm just so honored to practice with you all, and thank you so much, Geshe-la.